Highly intelligent women aren't born with all the answers. They cultivate their brilliance through intentional habits that elevate their minds, hearts, and lives. Intelligence in women goes far beyond IQ or academic success. It's about emotional resilience, mental sharpness, self-awareness, and the quiet confidence to walk through life with purpose. Highly intelligent women understand that education doesn't end with a diploma. For them, learning is a lifelong journey, not a destination. They are naturally curious, constantly seeking to understand the world around them. Whether it's through books, podcasts, documentaries, or conversations, they absorb knowledge like a sponge, and they do it with intention. Every new idea they encounter is an opportunity to grow and evolve. They are not afraid to dive deep into unfamiliar topics. If something sparks their interest, they research it. They explore philosophy, psychology, finance, health, history, even if it has nothing to do with their career. This broad spectrum of knowledge gives them a unique perspective that sets them apart in any room. They don't just follow trends, they seek understanding. They aren't driven by hype, they're driven by substance. These women invest in their minds with the same energy others invest in appearance or status. They attend seminars, take online courses, and listen to TED Talks while commuting. Instead of spending hours scrolling through social media, they feed their minds with content that sharpens their intellect. They know the power of quiet learning and how it compounds over time. Intelligent women are also reflective learners. They don't just absorb information blindly, they challenge it. They question the source, the logic, and the implications. They aren't easily swayed by popular opinions. Instead, they use their critical thinking to form well-rounded, independent thoughts. This habit allows them to navigate the world with clarity and conviction. What sets them apart is their humility in the learning process. They don't pretend to know everything. In fact, the more they learn, the more they realize how much they don't know, and that excites them. They are not embarrassed by what they haven't mastered. They see gaps in their knowledge as invitations to explore further, not as threats to their intelligence. These women also surround themselves with people they can learn from. They choose mentors, friends, and communities that challenge them mentally. They're not intimidated by intelligence, they're inspired by it. Iron sharpens iron, and they intentionally place themselves in spaces that promote intellectual expansion, not ego validation. Reading is a sacred habit for them. Whether it's a novel that sharpens their empathy or a non-fiction book that enhances their financial literacy, they always have something on their shelf. They treat books as tools, not decorations. They highlight, annotate, and revisit them regularly, pulling out life-changing lessons that others overlook. Ultimately, their relentless pursuit of education isn't about achieving superiority, it's about self-mastery. Intelligent women learn not just to know more, but to become more. They understand that the more they invest in their minds, the more powerful, capable, and self-reliant they become. Learning is their weapon, and they sharpen it every single day. Highly intelligent women know that true power isn't just in what you know, it's in how you manage yourself. Emotional intelligence, or EQ, is their quiet superpower. It allows them to handle difficult conversations, uncomfortable truths, and even personal disappointments without losing control. They recognize that mastering their emotions is a discipline, not a natural gift. They don't deny their emotions, they observe them. Instead of reacting impulsively, they pause. They ask themselves why they feel a certain way, where it's coming from, and what their feelings are trying to teach them. This inner dialogue becomes a habit. It allows them to respond with clarity instead of chaos. Their ability to self-regulate is what gives them calmness under pressure. Emotional intelligence also helps them read the room. They can sense shifts in energy, understand nonverbal cues, and recognize when someone is projecting, deflecting, or silently struggling. This awareness gives them an edge in both personal and professional relationships. They don't take everything personally because they've trained themselves to see beneath the surface. Highly intelligent women don't get swept away by emotional storms. When someone insults them, triggers them, or tries to provoke a reaction, they don't flinch. Why? Because they understand that most outbursts are a reflection of the other person's state, not theirs. They protect their peace by staying rooted in emotional control. even when the environment is chaotic. One of the strongest signs of their emotional intelligence is how they handle conflict. They don't yell, manipulate, or play mind games. Instead, they communicate clearly, respectfully, and assertively. They address problems head-on without turning disagreements into battles. They understand that maturity isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about channeling them wisely. Self-awareness is the foundation of their emotional intelligence. They are in tune with their triggers, patterns, and wounds. They don't run from their shadows, they confront them. Therapy, journaling, and honest reflection are part of their routine. They take accountability when they're wrong and apologize without ego. This emotional maturity allows them to grow continuously. They also understand boundaries, emotional, mental, and physical. They don't feel guilty for saying no, or for walking away from toxic situations. They know that preserving their emotional space isn't selfish, it's essential, and they never let guilt manipulate them into compromising their peace. Empathy is another key trait they embody. Intelligent women don't just listen to respond, they listen to understand. They can put themselves in someone else's shoes without losing their sense of self. Their compassion isn't performative, it's grounded in true understanding of human complexity and pain. Finally, they realize that emotional intelligence is a daily practice. It's not about being perfect, it's about being intentional. They choose calm over chaos, clarity over confusion, and growth over grudges. Every day, they wake up with one goal in mind: to master themselves before trying to master the world. Highly intelligent women don't broadcast their every move, they let their results speak louder than their words. They understand that progress grows best in private. When they're building, healing, or transforming, they don't feel the need to update the world. Silence isn't secrecy, it's strategy. It protects their process from unnecessary opinions and premature judgments. In a world obsessed with sharing everything online, these women find power in discretion. They're not trying to prove anything to anyone. They're not addicted to validation, applause, or external approval. Instead, they focus on execution, on action, on forward motion. They don't just say what they're going to do, they do it quietly, consistently, and powerfully. Silence gives them clarity. It helps them hear their own voice, separate from the noise of the world. While others are lost in trends and distractions, intelligent women are making moves behind the scenes. They know that momentum is sacred, and once you speak too soon, you invite energy that can dilute or derail your vision. They don't explain their plans to everyone because they understand that not every ear deserves access. Some people listen just to doubt you. Others pretend to support you while secretly hoping you'll fail. Intelligent women don't waste energy trying to convince the wrong crowd. They move with intention, and their circle is tight, trusted, and aligned. When they're hurt or going through something, they don't announce their pain to the world. They process it, learn from it, and evolve silently. This doesn't mean they suppress their emotions, but they choose to protect their vulnerability from those who haven't earned the right to witness it. Silence becomes a boundary that guards their growth. They also understand the difference between privacy and isolation. Moving in silence doesn't mean they disconnect from everyone, it means they are selective. They share with those who genuinely care, who hold space for them, who offer wisdom instead of judgment. They value quality connections over quantity of opinions. This quiet way of living makes them unpredictable, and that's a strength. No one can sabotage what they don't see coming. Intelligent women keep their goals tucked in their hearts, not plastered on their timelines. When they show up with results, it often surprises people because while others were talking, they were working. They're not driven by ego. They don't need to prove their intelligence, ambition, or vision to anyone. They understand that true confidence is silent. It doesn't perform. It doesn't demand recognition. It simply exists steady, unshakable, and deeply rooted in self-belief. Most of all, they know that moving in silence is an act of self-respect. It's how they honor their journey, protect their dreams, and stay aligned with their purpose. Their silence isn't emptiness, it's power under control. Highly intelligent women understand that time is their most valuable currency. Once spent, it cannot be refunded, replaced, or rewound. That's why they guard it fiercely. They don't give it away out of guilt, pressure, or people-pleasing tendencies. Every hour they invest must serve a purpose, growth, peace, alignment, or rest. They are masters of saying no without over-explaining. No to unnecessary meetings, no to draining conversations, no to last-minute obligations that disrupt their rhythm. They understand that saying yes to everyone else often means saying no to themselves, and that's a cost they're not willing to pay. These women create and honor boundaries around their time. They block off time for deep work, solitude, learning, and self-care, and they treat it like an unmissable appointment. They're not afraid to disconnect from the world to reconnect with their goals. They don't confuse being busy with being productive. They recognize time, wasters quickly. Gossip, pointless scrolling, toxic relationships, and emotional drama all have one thing in common. They drain time without a return. Intelligent women don't engage. They don't entertain distractions disguised as obligations. They choose focus over frenzy. Time management isn't just a skill to them, it's a lifestyle. They plan their days with intention. They wake up with clarity, knowing what deserves their energy and what doesn't. They review their schedules not to feel busy, but to make sure they are aligned with their values. They prioritize what matters and eliminate what doesn't. They also value other people's time. They show up on time, they prepare, they respect deadlines, they don't double, book or flake. Their respect for time is a reflection of their character, both in how they manage their own and how they honor others. This makes them reliable, consistent, and deeply respected. When they rest, they do it without guilt. Protecting time doesn't mean working 24/7. It means choosing wisely. Sometimes the best use of time is rest, reflection, or play. Intelligent women understand the balance between hustle and stillness. They give themselves permission to pause without feeling like they're falling behind. They aren't afraid to outgrow schedules or environments that once served them. As they evolve, so do their priorities. They constantly reevaluate how they spend their time, cutting away what no longer supports their growth. Evolution requires pruning, and they aren't sentimental when it comes to protecting their future. Most importantly, they know that how they spend their time reflects how much they value their life. Every minute is an opportunity to invest in something meaningful, and they don't let that go to waste. Protecting their time is not just practical, it's deeply personal. It's an act of self-respect and vision. Highly intelligent women know the power of thinking before reacting. They don't allow emotions to dictate their decisions, especially in high-stakes situations. While they honor their feelings, they don't let those feelings take the driver's seat. Instead, they pause, assess, and respond with wisdom, not impulse. This doesn't mean they suppress their emotions, they process them. But when it's time to make choices that affect their future, they lean into logic. They ask themselves, what's really happening here? What are the facts? What's the outcome I want? They separate how they feel from what they know. This is how they avoid making permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. They understand that emotional outbursts can damage relationships, reputations, and opportunities, so they cultivate a calm mind, especially in moments of chaos. While others lash out or spiral, intelligent women ground themselves. They are the eye of the storm, focused, collected, and aware. Critical thinking is a skill they intentionally sharpen. They don't just accept information at face value, they question it. They dig deeper, analyze context, evaluate sources, and consider all angles. Whether it's in relationships, business, or personal growth, they don't jump to conclusions. They observe patterns, not just moments. When faced with conflict, they don't let pride or ego blur their judgment. They assess the situation objectively. Is this worth their energy? Is there a deeper issue? Is this about them or something else? Their ability to detach emotionally when necessary helps them make better, cleaner, and more powerful decisions. This habit also keeps them from being manipulated. Intelligent women recognize emotional traps, guilt trips, gaslighting, love bombing, passive aggression, and they don't fall for them. Why? Because they don't just feel what's happening, they analyze it. They see beyond the surface and trust their intellect to guide them through. Their conversations reflect their critical thinking. They speak clearly, ask the right questions, and challenge weak logic without being disrespectful. They're not afraid of debates or opposing views, in fact, they welcome them. Why? Because they're not attached to being right. They're committed to understanding truth. Even in their self-talk, they think critically. They catch themselves when emotions begin to distort reality. Instead of spiraling into anxiety or self-doubt, they pull themselves back with facts. They remind themselves of what's real, what's possible, and what they can control. This inner discipline gives them emotional strength most never reach. Above all, thinking critically empowers them to lead themselves. They don't follow the crowd or let fear drive their path. They use reason, perspective, and intention. They've trained their minds to think beyond the moment, and that's why their decisions, actions, and lives reflect such deep wisdom and power. Highly intelligent women understand that words carry weight. They don't speak just to be heard, they speak to be understood. Every word, tone, and pause is chosen with care. They know that communication isn't just about expressing thoughts, but also about creating clarity, impact, and connection. They don't talk just to fill silence, they speak with purpose. They don't over-explain or overshare. They know when to be direct and when to hold back. Their strength lies in precision, saying exactly what needs to be said, nothing more, nothing less. This makes their words powerful. People listen when they speak, not because they're loud, but because they're intentional. Their emotional intelligence shows in their communication. When they speak, they're aware of their tone, timing, and audience. They don't let frustration turn into insults or disagreement into disrespect. Even in conflict, they stay calm and composed, choosing language that de-escalates rather than inflames. Their words reflect maturity, not ego. Listening is a key part of how they communicate. They don't interrupt or dominate conversations. They let people finish their thoughts and listen not just for words, but for meaning. They pay attention to what's not being said. Intelligent women know that powerful communication is a two-way street, and listening is just as important as speaking. They ask thoughtful questions. Rather than jumping to conclusions, they seek to understand. Their curiosity isn't shallow, it's strategic. They use questions to uncover motives, challenge assumptions, and guide conversations toward truth. This makes them excellent leaders, negotiators, and advisors because they create space for clarity. When they set boundaries, they do so with confidence and kindness. I'm not available for that. That doesn't work for me. Or let's revisit this later. These phrases reflect self-respect, not rudeness. They don't need to raise their voice to be firm. Their energy communicates strength before their words even do. In professional settings, they articulate their thoughts clearly and confidently. They speak up in meetings, advocate for their ideas, and stand by their values without being aggressive. They understand the balance between assertiveness and grace. People trust their voice because it's grounded in logic, not noise. They're also self-aware in their delivery. They don't use passive, aggressive comments, sarcasm, or emotional manipulation to make a point. If something bothers them, they express it directly and respectfully. They don't hint, they say it. Their transparency creates healthy relationships and eliminates unnecessary confusion. At their core, they understand that words build worlds or destroy them. So they speak to uplift, inform, challenge, and inspire. They don't waste time on gossip, complaints, or negativity. When they speak, it's either to solve a problem, express love, set a standard, or protect their peace. Their communication is not accidental, it's intentional. Highly intelligent women understand that growth starts from within. They take time to sit with their thoughts, analyze their patterns, and evaluate their choices. They aren't afraid to face themselves. In fact, they welcome the mirror that self-reflection provides because they know it's not judgment, it's direction. They regularly pause to ask themselves hard questions. Why did I react that way? What am I avoiding? What did this experience teach me? These aren't surface-level reflections, they dig deep. They go beyond blaming others and take full accountability for their emotional responses and life decisions. Through self-reflection, they gain clarity about what they truly want, not what the world expects. They don't chase goals blindly, they constantly realign. Is this goal still true to who I am? Am I doing this for me or for approval? These check-ins keep them grounded and authentic. They also reflect on their relationships, who adds to their peace and who drains it, who challenges them to grow and who pulls them back into old patterns. Instead of waiting for others to change, they examine their role in the dynamic and adjust accordingly. They take responsibility for the energy they allow. Mistakes don't scare them because self-reflection turns every mistake into a lesson. They don't deny their flaws or hide from failure. They embrace the opportunity to grow wiser, stronger, and more aligned. They don't shame themselves, they study themselves. That's what makes their transformation consistent and lasting. Journaling, meditation, long walks, quiet mornings, these are not luxuries to them. They are non-negotiables. Moments of stillness aren't wasted time, they're sacred. In that stillness, they gain insights no external source can give. They access their inner wisdom, which often speaks in silence. Self-reflection helps them regulate their emotions. Instead of reacting impulsively, they give themselves space to process. Why am I triggered? Is this about now or about something unresolved in the past? This emotional intelligence allows them to move through life with grace rather than chaos. It also makes them less likely to repeat old cycles. Intelligent women don't just go through things, they grow through them. They take note of what didn't work, what they tolerated too long, and what they would do differently next time. Their past becomes their teacher, not their trap. Above all, self-reflection fuels their evolution. Every version of themselves is the result of intentional inner work. They don't wait for life to force them to change, they choose to grow daily. They look inward not to criticize, but to understand. And in understanding themselves, they become unstoppable. Highly intelligent women do not beg for basic human decency. They understand that respect is not a request, it's a requirement. The moment they realize they are being belittled, dismissed, manipulated, or taken for granted, they don't make excuses, they make an exit. They know their worth, and they will not stay where it's not recognized. They don't waste time trying to convince people to value them. They've learned that people who truly respect you don't need to be reminded how to treat you. So instead of arguing, explaining, or proving themselves, they simply walk away. Silence and distance are their strongest responses to disrespect. This applies to romantic relationships, friendships, family dynamics, and professional environments. They don't compartmentalize self-worth, they carry it with them everywhere. If someone continues to speak to them with condescension, ignores their boundaries, or discredits their voice, they do not tolerate it. They leave not because they're weak, but because they're wise. They've broken free from the idea that loyalty means staying in disrespectful spaces. They know that loyalty without respect becomes self-betrayal. So they protect their peace, their confidence, and their soul by choosing environments that nourish, not deplete them. Walking away is not abandonment, it's alignment. When they leave, they do so with dignity. There's no drama, no loud declarations, no need to prove a point. They understand that real power is quiet. They remove themselves gracefully, with their head held high, knowing they are choosing themselves, and that's more than enough. They do not confuse potential with reality. Just because someone could treat them well doesn't mean they will. They stop waiting for change when patterns become clear. Their intelligence helps them see through empty apologies and recycled promises. They trust actions over words, and when the actions show disrespect, they exit without guilt. Their boundaries are not flexible when it comes to respect. They don't negotiate with mistreatment. They don't downplay it or tell themselves to just deal with it. They trust their gut. If something feels off, they observe. If it continues, they act. They don't stay to fix people, they leave to protect themselves. This self-respect also teaches others how to treat them. People quickly learn that they cannot mistreat, lie to, or manipulate a woman who honors herself. Her presence is a privilege, not an entitlement, and if it's not valued, she will take it elsewhere without looking back. Most importantly, they leave because they know staying in disrespect kills the soul slowly. Intelligent women prioritize their emotional well-being above social expectations. They choose growth over comfort, truth over illusion, and self-love over settling. Walking away isn't weakness, it's the highest form of strength.